most popular essay option this week was this one, option B. It starts off with the opening line. This opening line will be in all prompts, especially on the PSSAs, and it is weak arguments are often emotional. Now, this was covered earlier in the week as we read. We also took notes on it, and I'll take you through some of the things that we did in class, of course, not all of it. Evaluate the 3 op-eds from most dispassionate to weakest. And we went over the word dispassionate. It means the opposite of passionate. Clinical, objective, factual were all words that went with dispassionate. Weakest meant that they were not dispassionate, but were passionate, emotional, and we tried to look for the emotions in arguments to evaluate them to see whether they were good or bad arguments, right? Use evidence from all 3, your notes from this week, and a connection to Dr. King's rhetorical prowess and your attention getter to develop your argument. So we've been going over Dr. King's work a lot, but we even did more this week with his On the Mountaintop speech. Here's some of the things we did during the week. Using a Cartesian graph, we talked about, explicit versus implicit. So explicit means they just come out with a good fact and tell you, and we talked about how in the state of New York, 7-Eleven didn't have to obey the soda ban, which the op-eds were either for or against, but Burger King did. State versus federal government, that it was enacted by Bloomberg. And then for some of the emotional arguments or implicit arguments, we talked about how there was maybe too much emphasis on freedom and not enough on needs, and that was covered in the article as well. We went over some notes right before as well with the word evaluate. We said that when you evaluate, you judge. You see which is worse, which is better. We talked about the nanny state. We reviewed that it was about the soda ban, no sodas over 32 ounces. We talked about how it can lead to obesity problems. We talked about John Stuart Mill and his harm principle, the reason to or not make a law, based on what harm your actions are doing to others, how there are laws involving cigarettes. We talked about what made a good argument. It was logic. What made a bad argument? It was emotion. And some of the ideas like freedom of choice, the choice to get a large soda. That was all covered before we started writing. So if your student was paying close attention all week, there wasn't too much of a surprise. You can see that they were given some pictures that they could use to support their writing. Here's one picture of a soda. Here's another one. Stop is pictured here as in obesity. All right, that was an inventive way to use that. Government and freedom, the relationship between the two, little picture there. And drinks are pictured there, and they're not allowed to choose their own drinks. This writer did a wonderful job. Evaluating weak arguments is the name of the essay that they wrote. They got that right from the prompt that we were going over earlier. In the Band by Sydney Ann Stone and So Does a Problem But by Karen Klein, evaluate with opinions. The thesis doesn't make a ton of sense, but I see what they're driving at. Such as both of these texts contain dispassionate and weak arguments. Well, that, I do know what they're saying. Excellent. Throughout Ban the Ban, laws are being implemented towards banning smoking in bars, parks, and restaurants due to Mayor Bloomberg insisting on calorie counts being posted. I agree wholeheartedly that obesity is an issue that he needs to be addressed. There's their quote, and then they follow up with an explanation. This important concern notifies, what a verb, such a weak problem people tend to have. If Bloomberg had not showed his concerns toward people's health, then he would be dispassionate. So I think that they're taking the idea that Bloomberg is maybe being emotional here. I would say let's focus more on the author, but I love how they explain their quotes. Now, if you look at the rubric, it says, Explanation. Underline this noun verb, conditional sentence, and a sentence using the word important or significant. That they didn't get, so they lost some points on that. Okay? Let's take a look at some other student work. Ooh, there's some more beautiful notes. Some more beautiful pictures. Ooh, the law is pictured here. A large soda is pictured here. And let's take a look at their quote. When you take away the option to order soda over a certain size, you've now removed my option to order a soda over a certain size. You have now removed my options. I no longer have a choice. This emotionally filled sentence makes the law seem horrible. What a fantastic follow-up or explanation to this quote. Excellent work with the text. He makes sure his statement has significance in the reader's understanding or the reader's imagination, right? I like that too. Very, very well done. All right, I wanted to cover that. There's another video that goes along. I love the title for this one, Weak Arguments. All right, they did a very nice job. So if you could watch this with your student and maybe they already got theirs back, or there was a picture sent, or they'll get it back during this coming week. Thank you so much and have a good one.